Ji-won Kim stood in the center of the massive chamber, her hands clasped behind her back. The ceiling stretched so high above her that she could barely see it. 12 massive thrones surrounded her in a circle, each one holding an alien species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. The air smelled strange, like metal and something sweet she couldn't identify. Her heart beat steadily in her chest, but she kept her face calm. She had practiced this moment for months. 20 years ago, humanity had made first contact with the Galactic Council. 20 years of following their rules, paying their fees, and proving that humans could be trusted. Today was supposed to be the day Earth finally became a full member of the galactic community. Behind Ji-won stood Taeyang Park, a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He wore his military uniform, though the Council had asked humanity not to send soldiers. Taeyang had been an admiral before becoming a diplomatic attaché. He stood perfectly still, watching everything. On Ji-won's other side was Hyeri Lee, a scientist who had spent 15 years studying alien cultures. She carried a datapad with all of humanity's achievements listed carefully. New medicines, new technologies, new art and music. Everything humans had accomplished in just 2 decades of galactic contact. The Primarch of Velthra spoke first. His voice boomed through the chamber, translated instantly into Korean by the devices in their ears. He was massive, with blue skin and 4 arms. His species had ruled their part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. "We have reviewed humanity's petition," the Primarch said. His tone made it clear he was not impressed. "Your species has been provisional members for 20 standard cycles. You request full membership status." "Yes, honored Primarch," Ji-won said. She kept her voice respectful. "Humanity has followed every guideline. We have contributed to galactic trade, shared our knowledge, and maintained peace with all species we have encountered." A sound rippled through the chamber. It took Ji-won a moment to realize what it was. Laughter. The council members were laughing at her. The High Chancellor of Draken leaned forward. His species looked like large reptiles, with scales that shimmered in the light. "Peace?" he said, amusement clear in his voice. "You have maintained peace because you are weak. Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are slow. You are children playing with toys." Hyeri shifted slightly beside Ji-won, but said nothing. Taeyang's expression didn't change at all. Another council member spoke, a floating being of pure energy contained in a crystal shell. "Your technology is derivative. You simply copy what we give you. Where is the innovation? Where is the proof that your species deserves to sit among the great civilizations?" Ji-won felt heat rising in her chest, but she pushed it down. Humanity has developed new medical techniques that have saved millions across multiple species. Our agricultural methods have increased food production on 7 colony worlds. Our artists have— "Enough," the Primarch interrupted. "We have heard these claims. They are adequate for a young species. But full membership requires more than adequacy." The Draconite Chancellor spoke again. "Your species reproduces too quickly. You expand to new worlds without proper consideration. You take resources at an alarming rate. These are not the behaviors of a mature civilization. We follow all council regulations on expansion and resource management," Ji-won said carefully. "Every human colony has been approved by this council." "Yes, yes," another council member said, waving a tentacle dismissively. "You follow the rules we set for primitives. That does not make you our equals." Taeyang leaned closer to Ji-won and whispered in Korean, knowing the translators wouldn't broadcast it. "They're afraid. Notice how they keep mentioning our expansion rate." Ji-won gave the tiniest nod. She had noticed. The council liked to maintain control, and humanity's rapid growth across the stars made them nervous. The Primarch raised one of his 4 hands. The chamber fell silent. The Council has made its decision. Humanity will remain as provisional members. Furthermore, we believe your species requires guidance. You will accept cultural supervisors on your homeworld. They will help direct your development along more appropriate paths. The words hit Ji-won like a physical blow. Cultural supervisors. That meant aliens living on Earth, controlling what humans could learn and create. It meant losing freedom, losing the right to determine their own future. You will also increase your tribute payments by 40%, the Chancellor added. Considerate payment for the wisdom we will provide. Hyeri made a small sound, quickly suppressed. 40% more. Earth was already struggling to pay what the Council demanded. This would cripple their economy. Ji-won took a slow breath. She had prepared for this possibility too, though she had hoped it wouldn't come to this. Honored Council, she said, may I ask when humanity might be reconsidered for full membership? The Primarch waved his hand as if the question bored him. Perhaps in another century. Maybe two. If you prove worthy. 100 years. 200 years. Generations of humans would live and die under Council control, never truly free. I understand, Ji-won said quietly. Humanity will consider the Council's decision carefully. Something in her tone made the Primarch pause. His large eyes focused on her. You will not consider. You will obey. That is what provisional members do. Ji-won met his gaze. Of course, honored Primarch. We understand our position very clearly now. Thank you for making it so obvious. The Chancellor's eyes narrowed. Watch your tone, human. We are being generous by allowing your species to remain at all. Many on the Council voted to expel you entirely. For what reason? Taiyang spoke for the first time, his voice hard. What crime has humanity committed? You exist too boldly, the Primarch said simply. You grow too fast, question too much, and refuse to accept your place. These are dangerous traits in a young species. Ji-won felt something shift inside her. All the patience, all the careful diplomacy, all the hope that they could join the galactic community as equals, it crumbled. The Council didn't want partners. They wanted servants. We understand the Council's position, Ji-won said. Her voice was calm, but there was something new in it. Something cold. Humanity will respond accordingly. The Primarch laughed again. You will do as you are told, little human. Now leave. We have important matters to discuss. Ji-won bowed, the gesture perfectly respectful. Hyeri and Taiyang followed her lead. They turned and walked toward the massive doors of the chamber. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. As they reached the exit, Ji-won heard one more comment from behind them. A council member speaking to another, not bothering to lower his voice. Humans. So emotional. So weak. They will learn their place eventually. The doors closed behind them with a heavy sound that seemed final. In the corridor outside, Hyeri finally spoke. What do we do now? Ji-won kept walking, her pace steady. Now we go home. And we show them exactly what humans are capable of. Taiyang smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. Admiral Minji will be pleased. She's been preparing for this. Preparing for what? Hyeri asked. Ji-won stopped and turned to face her companions. For the day the talking stopped working. That day is today. They walked toward their ship, leaving the council chamber behind. None of them looked back. They had come seeking respect and partnership. They had been given contempt and chains instead. The council thought humanity was weak. They were about to learn how badly they had miscalculated. The journey back to Earth took 3 days. Ji-won spent most of that time sending encrypted messages ahead. By the time their ship entered Earth's orbit, everything was already in motion. Admiral Minji Choi stood in the command center beneath the Pacific Ocean. The facility had been built 20 years ago, right after first contact. The walls were lined with screens showing data from every human colony, every ship, every military installation scattered across dozens of star systems. Hundreds of people worked at their stations, their faces illuminated by the glow of their displays. Minji was a small woman, but everyone in the room moved quickly when she gave orders. She had been planning for this day since she first met the Galactic Council. She hadn't trusted them then. She trusted them even less now. "Status report," she said as Ji-Wan entered the command center. "All fleets are ready," replied Junho Han from his station. He was in charge of weapons development. For 20 years, he had been designing and building things the Council knew nothing about. Mars shipyards have completed the final squadron. Titan Colony reports full readiness. Europa Station is online. Ji-Wan joined Minji at the central display. A holographic map of human space floated between them. Dozens of star systems glowed blue. "How many ships?" 843 combat vessels, Minji said, plus support craft. "The Council thinks we have maybe 200 old exploration ships. They stopped paying attention to what we were building 5 years ago," Junho added. "They thought we were too primitive to be a threat." Soman Kang approached from the intelligence section. She had spent years gathering information about the Council, their military capabilities, their technologies, their weaknesses. "I've compiled everything we know about Council fleet movements. They have ships scattered across the galaxy. Most of their forces are designed to intimidate, not fight. They haven't had a real war in 3,000 years. They've gotten lazy," Taiyang said, entering the command center behind Ji-Wan. "They rely on reputation and fear." Rely on reputation and fear. Their actual combat experience is zero. Minji pulled up a new display. "Show them." Junho pressed several commands on his pad. The holographic display changed to show a massive ship rotating slowly. It looked nothing like the sleek alien vessels humanity had seen. It was bulky, covered in armor plating with weapons pods jutting out at odd angles. "This is the Incheon-class battleship," Junho explained. "The Council thinks human ships are primitive because we still use kinetic weapons instead of pure energy. They abandoned kinetic weapons 10,000 years ago." "Why did they abandon them?" Hayari asked. "Because energy weapons are cleaner, more efficient, and more elegant," Junho said with a slight smile. "All the things the Council values. But kinetic weapons have advantages they've forgotten about." He pulled up combat simulations. Their shields are designed to deflect or absorb energy. Lasers, plasma, particle beams. Their shields handle all of that easily. But a solid projectile moving at a significant fraction of light speed. He let the simulation play. A small projectile hit an energy shield and punched straight through. Physics doesn't care about elegance. "We also improved their own technology," added Selman. "Every piece of alien tech they gave us, we took apart and rebuilt better. Their sensors? We made them 20% more accurate. Their engines? 30% more efficient. Then we kept the improvements secret." Minji nodded approvingly. "The Council gave us their old technology like humans giving toys to children. They never imagined we would understand it better than they do." "What about the neural interfaces?" Ji-Wan asked. Junho's expression became serious. "That was controversial. The Council forbids biological modification for combat purposes. They consider it unethical. But we asked our pilots if they wanted the option. 73% volunteered." He pulled up another display showing a human brain connected to a ship's computer. The interface lets pilots react faster than any alien. They think with their ships instead of controlling them. The Council will call it cheating. We call it evolution. They'll also call it monstrous, Hayari said quietly. "They already think we're monsters," Taiyang replied. "They made that clear at the Council chamber. At least now we'll be monsters they fear. Minji raised her hand, and everyone fell silent. Let's be clear about what we're doing. This isn't revenge. This is survival. The Council won't let us exist as equals. They want to control us, limit us, keep us weak forever. We're not fighting for conquest. We're fighting for freedom. What's the plan? Jiwan asked. Minji pulled up the galactic map again. As of 30 minutes ago, every human colony has withdrawn from Council jurisdiction. Our ships are moving into position to block all major trade routes that pass through human space. We're not attacking anyone. We're simply closing our borders. The Council will see that as an act of war, Summon said. They declared war when they tried to put supervisors on Earth, Minji replied. They just didn't realize it yet. Junho brought up a new screen showing Council communication channels. We're intercepting their transmissions. They're already panicking. The Council is holding an emergency session. They're debating whether to send a punitive fleet. They'll send it, Taiyang said with certainty. They can't let us defy them. It would encourage every other species they've been oppressing. How long until they arrive? Jiwan asked. Intelligence suggests 3 days to organize, 2 days travel time, Soman answered. They'll probably send 200 or 300 ships. Enough to intimidate us into surrendering without an actual fight. Minji smiled grimly. Let them come. Taiyang, you'll command the defense at Epsilon Eridani. Take the 3rd Fleet. Taiyang nodded. Understood. What about the rest of the fleets? Positioned at every major junction of human space, Minji said. If they want to attack Earth, they'll have to fight through multiple defensive lines. Each one will cost them more than they expect. Ayari looked at the map, at all the blue dots representing human ships and colonies. Are we really ready for this? The Council has been the dominant power in the galaxy for millennia. They have resources we can't match. They have resources, Junho agreed. But we have something they lost a long time ago. Desperation, hunger, the will to fight for our future. They're fat and comfortable. We're lean and angry. Our technology is better in the ways that matter for war, Taiyang added. Theirs is better for showing off. There's a difference. Minji turned to Jiwan. You spoke to the Council face to face. What's your assessment? Jiwan thought back to the chamber, to the Primarch's dismissive laughter, to the casual cruelty in their voices. They believe their own propaganda. They think they're superior in every way. They can't imagine losing to humans. That arrogance is their weakness. Good, Minji said. We'll use that against them. Alarms began sounding softly throughout the command center. Soman checked her display. Council fleet is forming up. Confirmed departure from Nexus Prime. 207 ships. Heading toward Epsilon Eridani. Right on schedule, Taiyang said. He headed toward the exit. I'll take the Bizen and meet them there. Rules of engagement? Minji asked. Taiyang paused at the door. We tried peace. We tried diplomacy. We offered friendship. They laughed at us and tried to put chains on us. No more talking. If they come to human space with weapons, we respond with weapons. Try to take prisoners if possible, Minji said. We're not monsters, regardless of what they think. Understood, Taiyang said, and left. The command center buzzed with activity as ships moved into position across human space. Jiwan watched the display, seeing the blue dots of human vessels arranging themselves in defensive formations. Do you think we can win? Hayari asked softly. We don't have a choice, Jiwan replied. We either win or we spend the next 1,000 years as slaves. Those are our only options. Junho approached them, holding a datapad. I want to show you something. He pulled up a video. It showed human children on a colony world, playing in a park. Laughing, running, free. That's why we fight, he said simply. So they can grow up free. So they never have to bow to anyone. Minji joined them, watching the video. The council thought humanity was weak because we value emotions, because we care about individuals, because we refuse to sacrifice our humanity for cold efficiency. They were wrong. Those things make us stronger, not weaker. The map showed the council fleet moving closer. 200 ships against 47 human vessels at Epsilon Eridani. The numbers looked bad. But numbers weren't everything. Send a message to all human ships, Minji ordered. Tell them what we're fighting for. Tell them that today, humanity stops asking for permission to exist. Today, we take our freedom. The message went out across the fleet. On hundreds of ships, thousands of human crew members read the words and understood. No more diplomacy. No more patience. No more hoping the council would accept them. The time for talking was over. Taiyang Park stood on the bridge of the Bison, his flagship. Around him, the crew worked quietly at their stations. Through the main viewport, he could see the rest of his fleet. 47 ships arranged in a formation the council would never expect. Enemy fleet entering sensor range, reported the tactical officer. 209 ships confirmed. They're not even trying to hide their approach. Why would they? Taiyang replied. They think we'll surrender when we see how many ships they brought. The communication officer looked up. Sir, incoming transmission from the council fleet. It's their commander. Put it on screen. The viewport filled with the image of a Velthrian admiral. His blue skin seemed to glow with confidence. Forearms were crossed in a gesture that meant superiority in his culture. Human vessels? This is Admiral Vexter of the Galactic Council Fleet. You have committed acts of rebellion against lawful authority. You will power down your weapons, disable your engines, and prepare to be boarded. You have 1 standard hour to comply. Taiyang said nothing. He simply stared at the alien admiral. Did you hear me, human? Vexter's tone became annoyed. Respond immediately, or we will consider your silence an act of war. Still, Taiyang remained silent. He glanced at his tactical officer and nodded once. The officer understood. All ships confirming ready status, sir. Neural interfaces synchronized. Weapons loaded. Shields at maximum. Sir, should I respond? The communication officer asked. No, Taiyang said quietly. Let him wonder. On the council flagship, Admiral Vexter was indeed wondering. He had fought in suppression campaigns before. Young species always surrendered when they saw the might of the council. But these humans just floated there, 47 ships against his 200. They should be terrified. Maybe their communications are damaged, suggested his second officer. Then they would signal with lights or movement, Vexter replied. No, they're ignoring us on purpose. How arrogant. How stupid. He waited the full hour. The human ships didn't move, didn't respond, just waited. Very well, Vexter announced. If they choose war, we will give them war. All ships, advance. Disable their vessels. Try not to destroy them completely. We'll need some survivors to make an example. The council fleet began moving forward in a standard formation. Ships in neat rows, shields overlapping, a wall of firepower designed to overwhelm any opposition. On the Bison, Taiyang watched them come. They're using the Torvan formation. It's in all their tactical manuals. Impressive to look at, but rigid. Once committed, hard to adjust. Their shields are active, Tactical reported. Energy signatures match our intelligence data. They're configured for energy weapon defense. Good, Taiyang said. Helm, execute pattern saber. The human fleet suddenly scattered. Ships broke formation and accelerated in different directions with a speed that shocked the council forces. The neural interfaces let human pilots react in milliseconds, their minds directly controlling their ship's movements. "What are they doing?" Vexter demanded. "They're breaking apart. They can't fight us separated." But the humans weren't running. They were repositioning. Each ship moved with impossible precision, finding angles the Council formation couldn't easily cover. "Fire!" Taiyang ordered. 47 human ships opened fire simultaneously, but not with energy weapons. The Council sensors barely detected the launches before impact. Solid projectiles, accelerated to tremendous speeds by magnetic rails, slammed into the Council fleet. The energy shields that would have easily absorbed laser fire did almost nothing against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. 3 Council ships exploded immediately, their hulls punctured by projectiles that punched through shield and armor like paper. 7 more took critical damage, their systems failing. "Impossible!" Vexter shouted. "They're using kinetic weapons." "Nobody uses kinetic weapons." "We did warn the Council," his tactical officer said quietly. "Humans still use primitive technology. We thought that made them weak. Evasive maneuvers." Vexter ordered. "Return fire." The Council ships tried to adjust, but the Torvan formation made quick maneuvering difficult. They began firing energy weapons at the darting human ships. Some shots connected, but human shields were designed differently. They didn't try to absorb all the energy. They deflected it, angled it away, let it slide past. The Bizon shuddered as an energy beam grazed its shields. "Minor damage," reported the engineering officer. "Shields holding at 78%. Target their command ship," Taiyang ordered. "All weapons." 6 human ships concentrated their fire on the Council flagship. Dozens of solid projectiles converged on one point. The flagship's shields buckled under the assault. One projectile found a gap and tore into the ship's side. Atmosphere vented into space. "They're targeting specific weak points," Vexter's tactical officer reported. "They know exactly where our shield generators are located." "How could they know that?" "Intelligence, sir. The humans have been studying us for 20 years. We gave them our technology. We showed them our ships. We never imagined they would use that knowledge against us." Another wave of human attacks hit the Council fleet. More ships took damage. The Neat formation was falling apart as ships tried to maneuver individually. "Launch fighters!" Vexter ordered desperately. Hundreds of small Council fighters poured out of the larger ships. They swarmed toward the human vessels like angry insects. On the Bizon, Tactical tracked them. "Enemy fighters approaching. Standard interception pattern. Activate point defense," Taiyang ordered calmly. The human ships bristled with small automated weapons. As the Council fighters came close, these weapons opened fire. Not with energy, but with small solid projectiles. Thousands of them. The fighters flew into a wall of metal, moving at incredible speeds. They were torn apart before they could even fire. "This is wrong," Vexter whispered, watching his forces being destroyed. "This isn't how war is supposed to work." "Sir, we need to retreat," his second officer urged. "We've lost 40 ships in 6 minutes. At this rate, we outnumber them 4-1. Vexter interrupted. "We can't lose to these primitives." But they were losing. The human ships moved like nothing the Council had ever seen. Pilots enhanced with neural interfaces could think and react faster than any unmodified being. Their weapons punched through defenses the Council had relied on for millennia. Their tactics were unpredictable, aggressive, efficient. Taiyang watched the battle unfold on his tactical display. "Dayan, you're clear for boarding action." In the lower deck of the Bizon, Dayan Song checked his armor seals one final time. Around him, 50 Marines did the same. They wore powered armor that amplified their strength and speed. another technology the Council had dismissed as crude and inefficient. Target is the Council flagship, Daehyun told a squad. Breach the port side where they've taken damage. We want their admiral alive if possible. Remember your training. They've never fought humans before. They don't know what we're capable of. The boarding craft launched from the Bison. It crossed the distance to the Council flagship in seconds, attaching to the damaged hull with magnetic clamps. Cutting torches burned through the metal. The Marines poured through the breach. Council crew members scattered in panic. They had never seen powered armor before. The humans looked like metal giants, moving with terrifying speed. Daehyun led his squad toward the bridge. Council security tried to stop them with energy weapons. The beams splashed off the armor, barely slowing the Marines down. When the humans fired back with solid projectile weapons, the Council soldiers fell. They're not warriors, one Marine reported. They're security guards. They've never been in real combat. 3 minutes after breaching, Daehyun's squad reached the bridge. The doors were sealed, but shaped charges blew them open. The Marines rushed in. Admiral Vexter stood in the center of his bridge, all 4 arms raised in surrender. Around him, his crew did the same. They had heard the sounds of combat getting closer. They knew what was coming. "I surrender," Vexter said in broken human language. "Please, we surrender." Daehyun removed his helmet. "Tell your fleet to stand down, now." Vexter sent the message. Across the battlefield, Council ships began powering down their weapons. They had lost 89 ships. The human fleet had lost 3. On the Bison, Taeyang watched the Council ships surrender. The battle had lasted exactly 17 minutes. "Open a channel. All Council ships and all galactic frequencies." When the channel opened, Taeyang spoke clearly. "I am Admiral Taeyang Park of the Human Defense Fleet. To the Galactic Council, we requested membership as equals. You chose to treat us as inferiors. You chose to send warships to enforce your will. You chose war. Today you learned that humanity is not weak. We are not primitive. We are not your servants." He paused, letting his words sink in across the galaxy. Thousands of species would be watching this broadcast. Admiral Vexter is alive and will be treated according to the laws of war. His crew will not be harmed. But know this, humanity will no longer accept Council authority. We will defend our freedom with every weapon we possess. If you send more fleets, we will destroy them too. If you want peace, you will negotiate with us as equals. The choice is yours." He nodded to the communication officer to end the transmission. Then he turned to his crew. "Get medical teams to the damaged ships. Ours and theirs." And the council chamber was no longer filled with laughter. The 12 species that ruled the galaxy sat in their thrones, watching the battle footage replay for the 5th time. 89 ships lost. Admiral Vexter captured. A complete humiliation broadcast across every channel in the galaxy. "This is unacceptable," the Primarch of Velthra said, his voice trembling with rage. "We cannot allow this insult to stand. The humans must be punished." Punished? The Draconite Chancellor's scales had turned dark red, a sign of extreme agitation in his species. "They just destroyed a council fleet. Perhaps we underestimated them. They cheated." Another council member insisted. "Neural interfaces are forbidden. Biological modification for warfare violates every civilized standard." "Standards they never agreed to," pointed out a more cautious voice. "They were only provisional members. They never signed the Treaty of Limitations." The argument went on for hours. Finally, the Primarch raised all 4 arms for silence. "We will assemble a larger fleet. 800 ships from 5 council species. We will attack their homeworld directly. When Earth burns, the other human colonies will surrender. And if they don't? The cautious voice asked. Then we will burn those colonies too. We will show the galaxy what happens to species that defy the Council. The vote was taken. 8 Council species voted to attack Earth. 3 voted against. 1 abstained. The war fleet began assembling, but across the galaxy, something else was happening. Yuna Shin sat in a small room on a space station in neutral territory. Across from her sat 3 aliens. A Talvari with silver fur, a Nethrin whose tentacles shifted nervously, and a Sultan whose multiple eyes blinked independently. You saw what happened at Epsilon Eridani, Yuna said quietly. The Council can be beaten. The humans won 1 battle, the Talvari replied. His name was Kelver, and he led a resistance movement his people had hidden for decades. The Council has unlimited resources. They will crush you eventually. Maybe, Yuna agreed. But maybe not. How long has your species been under Council rule? 400 cycles, Kelver said bitterly. They came to our world offering trade and knowledge. When we accepted, they never left. Now we work their factories, mine their resources, and watch our best minds taken to Council worlds to serve them. The Nethrin, called Desha, spoke next. My people have lost our culture. The Council says our language is inefficient, our art is primitive, our beliefs are outdated. They educate our children to be ashamed of what we are. The Sultan have no freedom at all, the Sultan delegate added. We are scientists and engineers. The Council keeps us in research facilities, forcing us to work on their projects. We are slaves in all but name. Yuna leaned forward. What if you didn't have to accept it anymore? What if you could say no? They would send fleets, Kelver said. They would destroy our worlds. Like they tried to destroy humanity? Yuna asked. We've been provisional members for 20 years. In that time, we made friends. Real friends. Species who saw us as equals, not servants. We remember who helped us when others looked down on us. She pulled out a datapad and slid it across the table. This is intelligence on Council military installations. Weaknesses in their supply lines. Communication protocols. Everything we've learned. If you choose to act, you won't be alone. Desha picked up the pad with a tentacle, scanning the information. This is extensive. You've been planning this for years. We've been planning for survival, Yuna corrected. The Council would never let us be free. We knew that from the beginning. So we prepared. And we made sure to know who our real friends were. If we rebel, Kelver said slowly, the Council will have to divide their forces. They can't fight humans and suppress us at the same time. That's the idea, Yuna agreed. They can't control everyone if everyone refuses to be controlled. The 3 aliens looked at each other. Centuries of oppression weighed against the hope of freedom. Finally, Kelver spoke. We will need weapons, training, support. You'll have it, Yuna promised. Humanity doesn't want an empire. We just want to be left alone. But we'll help anyone else who wants the same thing. While Yuna planted seeds of rebellion, Kyungmin Lee was gathering Docker intelligence. He had spent years building a network of informants throughout Council space. Now that network was paying off. He stood in Admiral Minji's command center, pulling up classified documents on the main display. We found something. The Council has been hiding technology. What kind of technology? Minji asked. Precursor technology. From the ancient civilization that ruled the galaxy before the Council. Weapons, engines, manufacturing systems, all far more advanced than anything the Council uses now. Ju-un joined them at the display, reading the documents. If they have this technology, why don't they use it? Because it would destabilize their power, Kyungmin explained. The Council maintains control by doling out technology slowly. They keep everyone else just advanced enough to be useful, but not advanced enough to be dangerous. If they released precursor technology, other species would become too powerful to control. Hajan Park, the xenopsychology expert, had been reading over their shoulders. That's why they were so threatened by human innovation. We weren't following their script. We were developing our own solutions, finding our own paths. That's what they really feared. They've been holding the entire galaxy back, Minji said, anger clear in her voice. For thousands of years, keeping everyone ignorant and dependent. It's worse than that, Kyungmin added. According to these documents, multiple species have requested access to certain technologies that would solve problems on their worlds. Medical tech that could cure diseases. Agricultural systems that would end famines. The Council denied all requests. They said those species weren't ready. The truth is, the Council wanted to keep them desperate and needy. How many species know about this? Ji-won asked. 3 Council species know the full truth. They're part of the inner circle. The other 9 probably suspect something, but they've been excluded from the real power structure. Can we use this? Minji wondered. We can expose it, Kyungmin said. If the galaxy knows the Council has been hoarding technology while billions suffer, it will destroy their moral authority. Prepare the documents for broadcast, Minji ordered. But wait for my signal. We'll use this when the time is right. That time came sooner than expected. The Council's attack fleet arrived at Earth 6 days later. 800 ships filled human sensors. It was the largest military force assembled in 3,000 years. Admiral Minji stood in her command center, watching them approach. Around Earth, 400 human ships took position. The odds were worse than at Epsilon Eridani. The Council had learned from their defeat and brought overwhelming force. They're hailing us, the communication officer reported. Let me guess, Minji said. Surrender or die. Essentially, yes. Tell them to go to hell, politely. The communication officer smiled despite the tension. Yes, ma'am. The Council fleet opened fire. Thousands of energy beams lanced toward Earth and the human defensive fleet. But humanity had built additional defenses. Orbital stations, armed with kinetic weapons, opened fire, creating a wall of projectiles that forced the Council ships to maneuver. The battle was brutal. Human ships fought with desperate courage, but the numbers were overwhelming. 12 human ships were destroyed in the first hour. 5 colonies on the outer solar system took heavy damage from Council bombardment, but the humans kept fighting. Every ship that fell took 3 or 4 Council vessels with it. The neural interfaces gave them an edge, but the Council had numbers and firepower in the thick of the battle. Admiral Minji made her decision. Kyungmin, broadcast everything. Every document we have on the Council's hoarding. Every secret they've kept. Send it on every frequency, every channel. Let the galaxy see what their rulers have been hiding. The data flooded across galactic networks. Billions of beings across hundreds of worlds suddenly had access to information the Council had kept hidden for millennia. They saw the precursor technology locked away. They saw the requests for help denied. They saw the Council's true purpose, not to guide and protect, but to control and dominate. Launch the special package. Minji ordered. JUNHO had prepared one more surprise. Hidden in the outer solar system was a weapon he had built in secret. A gravity pulse bomb based on precursor technology humans had found and improved. It was untested, theoretical, possibly suicidal to use. The weapon launched toward the Council fleet center. It reached the largest dreadnought and detonated. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to ripple. The massive dreadnought crumpled like paper, its structure unable to withstand the localized gravity distortion. The gravity pulse spread outward in a wave, affecting every ship within range. 50 Council vessels were destroyed instantly. Hundreds more took heavy damage. The fleet fell into chaos. "All ships advance," Minji ordered. "Hit them while they're disorganized." The human fleet surged forward. They had lost 23 ships, but the Council had lost over 200. The momentum shifted. On 3 different Council worlds, rebellion broke out. The Tal'Vari, armed with weapons Yuna had provided, seized control of weapons facilities. The Nethrin broadcasted messages of defiance. The Sultan scientists sabotaged Council research stations. In the Council chamber, emergency messages flooded in. 6 months after the war ended, Ji-won Kim stood in what had once been the Council chamber. But everything was different now. The 12 thrones were gone, replaced by a circular arrangement of seats. No one sat higher than anyone else. No species looked down on the others. Representatives from 29 species filled the chamber. 12 were former Council members. 17 were species that had been oppressed under Council rule. They called themselves the Assembly of Free Worlds. Ji-won walked to the center podium. She felt the weight of all those eyes on her. Some were grateful. Some were resentful. Some were simply curious about what humanity would do with its unexpected power. "We gathered today to establish a new order," Ji-won began. "Not because we are conquering anyone, but because the old order failed. For thousands of years, the Galactic Council claimed to represent civilized values. They claimed to guide younger species toward enlightenment. They claimed to maintain peace." She paused, looking around the chamber. But they were lying. They hoarded technology while billions suffered. They suppressed innovation to maintain control. They treated entire species as servants. This is not civilization. This is tyranny with a polite face. A Valthrian delegate stood. Not the Primarch, he had been forced to abdicate, but a younger representative of his species. "The humans speak of tyranny, yet they defeated us with overwhelming force. How are you different from what you claim to oppose?" It was a fair question. Ji-won nodded. "We defended ourselves. We fought when we had no other choice. But look around this chamber. We did not demand your surrender. We did not occupy your worlds. We did not impose our will on anyone. We offered you something the Council never did, a choice." She pulled up documents on the chamber's main display. "This is our proposal. No single species holds authority over others. Technology and knowledge are shared freely among all members. Scientific advancement is encouraged, not suppressed. Disputes are resolved through arbitration, with neutral judges from uninvolved species. Every species, regardless of age or power, has equal representation." "What about enforcement?" asked the Draconite delegate. "If a species violates the agreement, who stops them?" "We all do," Ji-won replied. "Any act of aggression against a member triggers a collective defense obligation. No empire, no conquest, no domination. That's the foundation. If any of you disagree, you're free to leave. But those who stay, stay as equals." The chamber fell silent as species considered the proposal. It was radical. For 10,000 years, someone had always been in charge. The idea that no one would have ultimate authority frightened some and excited others. The vote was called. 29 species voted. 29 voted yes. Not because they all trusted humanity, but because they all hated what the Council had become. The Assembly of Free Worlds was born. While diplomats talked, Admiral Taiyang Park stood on Mars, watching ships being dismantled. Not alien ships, human ones. Weapons platforms that had turned the tide of the war were being broken down for scrap. "It seems wasteful," commented Admiral Minji, standing beside him. "We fought so hard to build these weapons. Now we destroy them?" "We keep some," Taiyang replied. "Enough to defend ourselves. But if we keep everything, if we maintain a massive war fleet, other species will fear us. Fear breeds conflict. We proved we can win wars. Now we need to prove we don't want to fight them. You think they'll trust us? Eventually. Trust takes time, but it starts with showing restraint. We could dominate the galaxy right now. Our technology, our weapons, our experience, we could force everyone to follow our rules. That's what the Council did. That's why they failed. Minji watched another weapons platform being carefully disassembled. What will you do now? The war is over. You don't need to be a soldier anymore. Taiyang smiled slightly. I'm thinking about teaching. There's a new academy on Europa. They want someone to train the next generation of officers. Not just human officers, any species that wants to learn. You'll teach them to fight? I'll teach them to win without fighting when possible. And when fighting is necessary, to do it without becoming monsters. On Titan Colony, Junho Han walked through laboratories where human and alien scientists worked side by side. The precursor technology the Council had hidden was being studied openly. Discoveries were being shared immediately across the assembly. A young Sultan scientist approached Junho, her multiple eyes blinking with excitement. Director Han, we've made progress on the quantum fabrication system. If we can fully decode it, we could manufacture complex materials at the molecular level. What would that mean? Junho asked. It means we could build ships, equipment, even habitats faster and cheaper than ever before. We could help species that are struggling. We could terraform marginal worlds. The possibilities are enormous. Junho looked around the laboratory at human sultans, Talvari, and others working together. This is what the Council should have been doing. Using knowledge to help everyone, not to control them. Why didn't they? The Sultan asked. Because they were afraid, Junho replied. Afraid that if everyone had the same technology, they wouldn't be special anymore. They confused power with worth. It's a dangerous mistake. On Earth, I airily welcomed the first exchange students from former Council species. Young Velthrians, Draconites, Nethrons, and others would study at human universities. In return, human students would attend schools on dozens of worlds. Why would you teach us? Asked a young Velthrian student. His name was Kane, and he was clearly nervous. My species tried to destroy yours. Your leaders tried to destroy us, Hyeri corrected gently. You didn't. You were just born into their system, like we were born into ours. You're not responsible for their choices. You're only responsible for your own. But won't you want revenge? Won't humans always hate Velthrians? Hyeri knelt down to the student's level. Some might. Hate is easy. It's fear wearing a mask. But most humans understand that peace is built one connection at a time. You're here because we believe your generation can be different. You can learn from our mistakes and yours. You can help build something better. The student looked uncertain, but hopeful. I want to study engineering. I want to help build ships that explore, not fight. Then you're in the right place, Harry said with a smile dot in a quiet office. Yuna Shin compiled reports from across the former council space. The rebellion she had helped spark had succeeded. The Talvari had their freedom. The Nethrin were reclaiming their culture. The Sultan were no longer forced to work against their will. But not everything was peaceful. Some species struggled with sudden independence. Others fell into civil conflicts as different factions competed for power. Freedom, Yuna had learned, was harder than it looked. She sent aid where it was needed. Advisors to help build new governments. Medical supplies for war-torn worlds. Food for regions disrupted by rapid change. Humanity couldn't solve everyone's problems, but they could help. Her assistant, a Talvari named Kelver, the same resistance leader she had met months ago, entered with new reports. 3 more species have applied for assembly membership. They heard what we're building and want to join. What do they bring to the table? Yuna asked. The Karathi have extensive medical knowledge. The Vin are master shipbuilders. The Thresh have agricultural techniques that could help worlds with difficult climates. So everyone contributes something, Yuna noted. No one is just taking. That's good. That's how this should work. Kelver hesitated. Do you think it will last? This assembly? Or will it become like the Council eventually? I don't know, Yuna admitted. Power corrupts. That's true for any species. But we have something the Council lost. We remember what it was like to be powerless. We remember how it feels to be dismissed, mocked, controlled. As long as we remember that, we'll work to prevent it from happening again. And when people forget, then someone will need to remind them. That's why we document everything. Why we teach history. Why we share these stories. So future generations know what their ancestors fought for. In the assembly hall, Jiwan finished her first address as Earth's permanent representative. As she stepped down from the podium, delegates from various species approached her. Some to thank her. Some to negotiate treaties. Some simply to talk as equals. A message arrived on her communicator. It was from Admiral Minji. The casualty monuments are complete. We dedicated them today. 400,000 names. We made sure every visitor can see them, human and alien alike. So no one forgets what war costs. Jiwan felt tears in her eyes. She thought about all those people who died defending Earth. Young pilots who had volunteered for neural interfaces. Marines who boarded enemy ships knowing they might not return. Civilians caught in bombardments. So many lives lost, but they hadn't died for nothing. They died so their children could live free. So humanity would never bow to tyrants. So the galaxy could have a chance to be better. She looked out the window of the assembly hall at the ships docked outside. Dozens of species, hundreds of vessels. Trading, talking, sharing. Not because anyone forced them to, but because they chose to. A young human aide approached her. Ambassador Kim? The Velthrian delegation wants to discuss a joint research project. The Nethrin are proposing a cultural exchange program. And the Draconites are asking about mutual defense protocols. Schedule them all, Jiwan said. We have work to do.